As you might have heard, the Western Cape has been hit with severe droughts. And we are starting to run physically out of water. Water restrictions are becoming more common, and we have to adapt to these changes to secure viticulture in the future. My presentation today will focus on practices to reduce our reliance on irrigation water. The Dalai Lama said, "A tree with strong roots can withstand the most violent storm, but a tree can't grow roots just as a storm appears on the horizon." We all want a quick fix, something that we can just throw in the soil and all our problems will be solved. But the fact of the matter is, if we don't do all the steps from the beginning in the right way, our vineyard is going to suffer. So in nature, we know that trees with the largest and deepest root systems are the ones that survive severe climatic events. We call this the buffering effect. And in a future of predicted climate change, roots will be all the rage. The question you are probably asking is, how do we ensure that our vineyards develop a well-buffered root system? A well-developed root system is caused by a combination of many factors, and it all starts long before the vineyard is even planted. So my presentation will be about the next few topics. First of all, the action to choose the right location with site selection. This choice will become more difficult since our climate is shifting. But in a diverse topographical area, there are these pockets or terroirs that are more suited than others. The most important of the factors affecting root growth is soil properties. A proper soil survey and soil sampling give us a clear picture of this critical natural resource affecting root growth. Chemical amelioration must be done precisely with variable rate applications to apply only the necessary amount of fertilizers to reduce waste. Physical soil limitations needs to be rectified with deep soil preparation to unlock the inaccessible compacted subsoil to promote a deeper root system. The simple act of making a plant hole can even have a negative effect on root development. Cover crops and mulching can reduce evaporation, and we tend to over-irrigate our vineyards, and we forget how drought-tolerant this amazing plant is. In South Africa, we still have plenty of areas to cover and choose from for future vineyards. Proper site selection can save you a lot of headaches. Choosing the right site, you need proper knowledge of terroir. But this concept is sometimes a bit mysterious and beyond the grasp of many, so I would like to break it up into unique terroir elements. So the first, what I do is I look at the terrain. So the first element of terroir is terrain, and with a terrain analysis, we can calculate a lot of information affecting the vineyard. Altitude, as we have heard, causes the temperatures to drop. Aspect influences the amount of solar radiation. Steep slopes is beneficial for drainage, but it's also detrimental for erosion. Curvature of slope, concave slopes and convex slopes shows where water accumulates. Concave slopes tend to have more water and have deeper soils. Solar radiation is a measure of how much energy a site receives in square meters. Areas with higher radiation tend to be warmer than areas with low radiation at the same altitude. Since the plant is basically a solar panel, this measure is quite important. Day length has an effect on flowering and bud break, and surface hydrology and cool air drainage shows areas prone to erosion and frost. Distance from large water bodies buffers temperature variation, so that causes the maritime and the continental climates. And then comes the soil survey. We can't plant a vineyard if we don't know what is going on in the soil. So doing a proper soil survey is definitely essential, before we plant our vineyards. These are a few maps that I created just to show the variation in topography, altitude, aspects, day length hours. What's this one? This is curvature. The day length hours. As you can see, in the valleys you get much less daylight hours on the top of the crests. Slope in degrees, flow accumulation and direction, and solar radiation. Now, if you break terroir down into climate, soil, and terrain, you can even break it further down into these unique terroir elements. So the idea is to gather as much information about your site as possible and record it digitally in these unique terroir elements within a GIS geodatabase. So each one of these unique terroir elements can then be reclassified according to its suitability for a certain crop or whatever we want to do. We can reclassify temperature, elevation, soil fertility, or clay percentage, or slopes aspects. And then it's like in binary code. All these layers we can put on top of each other, and with that we can start building a model, if it's suited or not suited. And it ends up like this. I take all the unique terroir elements, throw it into a model, and create a single suitability layer, depending on what we want. This suitability layer was made to find suitable sites for Sauvignon Blanc with a vegetative character, but it takes into account lower radiation, higher altitudes. In South Africa, the southern slopes is actually cooler. So this is what I do for a living. I look at soil most of my days. So as a trained soil scientist, my work mostly consists of classifying soil and determine its physical properties affecting root growth. I do profile inspections like these, and also take soil samples for further chemical analysis. Each profile is logged with the GPS, and the data is used to create soil maps with GIS. A variety of soil maps can then be created depicting different soil characteristics like soil suitability, effective depth, nutrient status, or any type of limitations. These maps can then be used as a basis for decision making, or as unique terroir elements within a model. The soil also varies chemically, and fertilizer recommendations can be quite different over short distances. Variable rate application recommendations are made to ensure that over and under fertilization doesn't happen. The technology is there, and it must be used. The days of taking a few samples, throwing it all in one bag, and then just applying the same rate over the field, those days are over. We must only apply the right amount of fertilizer. So after surveying the soil and chemical rectification, we need proper deep soil preparation to uplift any physical or chemical limitations. That is if the soil allows it. And also to mix in this insoluble ameliorants like lime and phosphorus. Lime and phosphorus you can't throw it on the surface and expect it to move all the way up to 1 meter deep. And that is where we want our roots. So vineyards with deep root systems require less and frequent irrigation than ones with shallow roots in the same soil. Deep tillage before planting will show its benefits during drought periods and heat waves. So we must uplift these physical and chemical limitations. It's essential for development of the root system. If we look at the diagram here, if we have two different root systems, the one was prepared deep, and the other one we did no soil preparation. And as the water dries out, it is obvious which one of those need more frequent irrigation, while the deeper root system would use less water and needs less irrigation. This is just the simple act of making a planting hole. As we tend to be very quick making a planting hole, and we forget that if we compact the sides of the planting hole with a spade while the soil is wet, we can compact it, and roots won't be able to penetrate the side walls of that hole. So many times I've come to a farm and see all the vineyards have died off, and just the simple act of making a plant hole wasn't done correctly. We must give that young vine all the chance it has as to develop a big root system as quickly as possible. So we have covered cover crops. Cover crops is obviously essential. It suppresses weeds, it increases organic matter, it increases fertility, it decreases evaporation, it improves infiltration of the soil. You don't have to frequently till your soil. Soil microbial populations will increase, and it's definitely the enhancement of beneficial mycorrhizal fungi. Also, with the mycorrhizal fungi, together with the roots, you just double or triple the amount of water that your root system can absorb. So you increase your soil aggregation and stability over time, and it's better if you use mixed species with the cover crops. It's almost like a conservation farming within the rows. So we get our annual and our perennial crops, but that depends on water availability during the summer. So the advantages of mulching. So first of all, mulch reflects solar radiation. That will keep your soil cooler and will make your roots be able to grow more shallow. If we don't have mulch, the topsoil will be too hot, and the topsoil will not be able to sustain roots. So it keeps the soil cool. It also helps with preventing erosion. It increases infiltration. So within the rain season, if we have mulch, it'll be able to absorb more water than without it. So the synthetic versus organic, I'm not even going to talk about it. Obviously, organic is better. Now, fertilization. Nitrogen is almost like steroids. And if we look at this bloke, he's just developing his canopy, and he forgot his leg day, which is his roots. Now, a lot of our vineyards look like this guy, but we are so fascinated by what we see above ground that we think we've got a lot of leaves and the grapes is nice. We think the vineyard is healthy, but the health of the vineyard is in the roots. The roots of a vineyard is like our guts. We can't see it, but we know our gut is essential to our health. So we must eat the right foods, and we must look at what we do to our gut. If our gut is happy, we're happy. So bigger canopies use more water, and obviously nitrogen can increase your canopy, and nitrogen also depletes soil organic matter. It disrupts the beneficial fungi, and rather feed the microorganisms, and they will feed the plants. Irrigation scheduling. The first and most important thing about irrigation is delay your first irrigation for as long as possible. It's almost like that war games where they say, wait, 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 and engage. We tend to spoil our vineyards too much. We're feeling sorry for the vineyard, so we irrigate too quickly. So new roots to the wetter subsoil only gets initiated to the plant if there's a shortage of water. So if we irrigate too early, there's not roots going to grow to the subsoil. So premature irrigation leads to a shallow, weakly buffered root system. Avoid short, regular irrigation, and rather irrigate for longer and less regular. Thorough soil water monitoring and irrigation, pressure bombs and soil moisture sensors, it's non-negotiable. We're living in 2019, please, people. So drip irrigation reduces evaporation, and obviously the quality of irrigation water is crucial. Rather not irrigate than to irrigate with low quality water. If the water is saline, salinity will build up. We must remember the vineyard is naturally drought resistant and involved in semi-arid regions. It doesn't need a lot of water. So, conclusion. Choose suitable sites. Choose high potential soils. Do proper deep soil preparation. Don't ridge the soil. Bigger surface area increases evaporation. Make planting holes carefully. Cover crops and mulching is essential. Be strict with your irrigation and be strict with fertilization. And hopefully, if we do some of these things, just hopefully, we will ensure a bigger, well-buffered root system that will be able to withstand the challenges it will face in the future. Thank you very much.